Hey Adorners, it's Briony Kennedy here, and I'm going to show you today how to do a smoky eye. If that's something that you've been interested in, I know a lot of people are scared of doing smoky eyes. One of the biggest tips that I can give you is that when you're doing something that's quite heavy on the eyes, to do the eyes first, so that it doesn't matter how much mess you make or how much fallout you get on your cheeks or under your eyes, it's easily cleaned away because you haven't invested the time in putting on your foundation or your blush or all those beautiful products to get your skin awesome, and then you get a little bit of fallout or mess from your eyes. It's so much easier to wipe it off and start again if you make a mistake than having to do the whole lot. So that's my best tip. Do your eyes first. So with this smoky eye look, I'm going to use our Onyx Crayon. Okay, now you could choose any of the darker colors. It might be the amethyst, it might be graphite, just pick a dark color. A smoky eye is really just an eye that's got color all the way up onto the brow bone and all over the lid. Smoky eye, and we're going to blend it so that it smokes out, but you can of course use any colors that you're comfortable with. Now I'm going to go quite dramatic and I'm going to use the Onyx. Now to show you how messy this looks so that you don't feel that it's supposed to look perfect along the way, please take note of how messy it's going to get. Okay, so before we get started, the first thing we want to do is prep our skin. It gives your skin a chance to soak in all the goodies and be nice and moisturized and nourished by just popping on your primer, your brightening, hydrating, Adorn primer, which is this one first. You can pop this over your eyes if you'd like, if your eyes are a little bit on the drier side. I, however, like to keep my eyes free of moisturizer when I'm putting on any heavy eye makeup. Your makeup will last a lot longer and be less likely to smudge. So there's my second tip. So we're going to get started with the Onyx Crayon. Okay, so it's a fat crayon and you can use our sharpener to sharpen this as you go along. Now, all you need to do is put this all over your eyelid. Nothing fancy, just get it on. Put more on than you're comfortable with because we're going to blend this away into a smoke. Other eye. Now, so that I get this into my lashes as well, I'm just going to pop this under my eyelashes and onto the lash line, just so there's no excess skin that you can see. So we're really focusing on the product being on the eyelid, not too far in the inner corners here. We don't want any of the smoke in there. It's really just on the eyelid. So we're looking super pretty at this point in time. And then what we're going to do now is just blend away the edges a little bit up to the brow bone. And then we're going to layer it with a eyeshadow over the top. So an eyeshadow that is the same color, a similar color, a brown, a chocolate, a gray, a shimmer. Have a play. But for this particular look, I'm going to use this really nice golden brown. So that's our golden quartz. Can you see that? I'm just going to show you on the back of my hand. So it's got a really nice sort of purpley golden undertone to it. So that is what I'm going to be layering over the top. So for those of you that are novices with a smoky eye, lighter colors, this same technique, but lighter colors are going to be best. Your smoky eye will last a lot longer if you use a cream first. So you might want to use one of our cream eyeshadows or one of the crayons like the Onyx I'm using today, or you might want to use one of the eyeshadows over the top, or one of the brow dusts even, to set it down and help smudge and make that beautiful smoky look. Now what I'm going to do is pick one of the really compact brushes in the 15-piece brush kit. So this is the number 8. Okay, so we want to pick a short brush for this, not one that looks like this where the bristles are a little bit longer. Okay, you want one that's short and dense. That's going to give you more control over where that smokiness goes, and of course it's going to keep the concentration of color there. If you use one of the longer brushes, you're not going to get that same effect. Okay, so let's just smoke this out a little bit. Really just focusing on the edges to push that up onto the brow bone. I'm not going to do too much because I'm going to mainly blend by applying the eyeshadow over the top of your cream or your chosen cream product. So again, I'm really just focusing on getting the edge smoke, really just blending a little bit, not over blending, but just a little bit, just to get the product worked into the lid. And blending it right into that crease. Now the beauty of this is you can add more. So if you feel like you want to add more, then you could definitely add a little bit more of the Onyx crayon over the top just to keep intensifying it. But I think you'll see in a moment, whilst this looks a little bit wishy-washy at the moment, once you put your eyeshadow over the top, that will disappear. So this is just a really quick, effortless way of creating a smoky eye. Now, I'm not doing too much more than that because I'm going to do most of my blending with the eyeshadow over the top. Notice I've tried not to blend in a downward fashion. I've kept most of the product up in line with my brow and the edge of my eye. If we start blending this down here, it's going to give you a sad puppy dog look, which we don't want. We want nice, big looking open eyes. If you have blended it down there, don't worry, I'm going to show you how you can fix that as well. Okay, so using the same brush if you would like, or you might like to even try one of the flat brushes. So a flat brush like this to press your eyeshadow on. But the trick with this first bit on the eyelid is to press your selected color. Again, I'm using the golden Quartz. Now this is where you might get a little bit of fallout, you might get a little bit of mess, and that's totally fine because you've not invested any time into your skin other than adding a bit of moisturizer on at this point. So we're pressing this on. We are pressing it into the lid to get it nicely, firmly onto the brush, tap off any excess. Usually if you get a lot of fallout, it's because you've put too much product on your brush, okay? So you're better off adding little bits and avoiding that extra fallout. Okay, so what I'm checking for now is consistency of coverage. I'm making sure that right up to this crease and onto the brow bone, I've got a perfect amount of coverage. Heavier than what I'm comfortable with, because then I've got something to blend away. I've got all of this to blend away in a moment with a clean brush. And that's my third tip to you when you're doing a smoky eye, is to have a spare clean brush to do the blending for you, so that your smoky eye doesn't end up into your eyebrow and we get the panda eye look, or that punched in the face black eye look, which I know most people struggle with and end up giving up. So onto the other side, we're pressing this eyeshadow on. And it probably looks like I'm dragging it, but I'm actually doing really very quick dabs all over my eye. Now, I find personally that when you are doing a smoky look, when you're dealing with these darker colors, that ones with a slight shimmer in them work best and blend more effortlessly. Matte colors can be just, not always, but can sometimes be a little bit harder to work with because they can tend to look more smudged. The shimmery eyeshadows are much more forgiving when it comes to blending. Okay, if you've got creased eyes or excess skin, or you've got wrinkles that you're concerned about, then matte eyeshadows will definitely be better, because the luminescence or that shimmer in the eyeshadow will draw attention to that. But when it comes to blending, often you'll find the shimmery eyeshadows an easier product to blend. Okay, so I'm really quite happy with the intensity of the coverage here. Again, I've put this on what I would call a naked eye. I've put it on an eyelid that has no product on it. So I'm wanting this to last the distance, and I'm not wanting it to crease. So I've got no moisturizer on my eyelid whatsoever. All right, so for me now, what I'm going to do is grab my clean brush. You've kind of got two options here, really. You could grab your clean brush and just blend that away and leave your nude natural skin as your highlighter, and that's just enough, I think, for most people. Or you might decide to use a slightly lighter nude, like a base kind of nude eyeshadow that we have. You might like to try our Invincible, which has got more of a white shimmer. Our mineral highlighter looks beautiful here as well. So anything that's light, you could definitely pop under the brow to highlight the brow so that the brow looks super structured. It also will make the eye look a bit bigger. Again, if you have a lot of excess skin, make sure whatever light color you choose has more of a matte finish and not a shimmer. All right, I'm going to show you just at this point that you don't need to do that if you would like to keep it simple. And the trick here with blending is to use a clean brush. Now, one that has slightly longer bristles than the one that I used for the coverage. Okay, it really does make a massive difference to the quality of your eye look on the brush that you use. And when I talk about not just the quality of the brush, but the type of bristles. So when you want tight, compact coverage, you want to use a tight, compact brush. When you want to blend, or you want to create just more of that lighter smoky, or you want light coverage, you go with a less compact brush that's got longer bristles. This is a way of remembering how you're going to get that type of coverage. Okay, so that's the first thing. And the second thing is that I know a lot of people will make a mistake when they're trying to do their smoky eyes. They will continue to use the same brush that they use to create this compact look, and they will start to try and blend it up here and blend away, because that's what we do not want, this harsh line here. We want to get rid of that so it looks gradual and it's just nicely disappearing a smoke into the top of the eyebrow area. But if you're to use this one, you're really just spreading this color and you end up with the whole eye looking very, very dark. So I promise you, if you always keep a clean brush with you, this is going to solve so many problems when it comes to blending eyeshadow. Now, all I'm going to do is focus on tickling away the edge of this product. You can do it with a plain brush, or you might like to If you feel that you've gone a little bit too high or a little bit too dark, you might want to put a tiny little bit of our base eyeshadow on, tiny bit, just so you've got a bit of product to help blend away that edge. And I love the base eyeshadow for this reason. It's kind of a corrector as well. So I'm not going too much onto my eyeshadow. I'm really just focusing on maybe a millimeter down. And you can see how, look, how that's already smoked that compared to this harsh line here. And we want to focus on blending it up and out. We don't want to focus on blending it down ways like this. So notice I'm always blending upwards. I don't blend down, because then I'm not going to pop the eyeshadow down below that lash line I was talking about before. So quick upward strokes. This is kind of perfect for those of you with hooded eyes as well, or if you've got quite a heavy eyelid and you're trying to create the illusion of an eyelid. So this is, you could do this with a really light color, and sometimes what I'll refer to it as a wash of color. This is more of a smoky eye per se, but if you're trying to create balance to the eyes, this is perfect for those of you that do feel that you need to create the illusion of that eyelid. So it's really putting whatever color you choose all over the eyelid and then blending it with a clean brush up onto the brow. Now look at how perfectly blended that is, and all I've done is used a clean brush, okay? Now for some of you, you might want more intense color than what I have, and that's okay. You would just, when I put the original eyeshadow and my cream product, which was the Onyx, first, just take it a little bit more up onto the brow bone, and then you would be blending it up a little bit higher. I just find that this is a more forgiving smoky eye doing it this way. Most of us have probably smaller eyes than the gorgeous, beautiful, big model eyes, and it's one that we can all pull off. But again, if you wanted to, you could definitely have applied this a little bit higher up. And it just means that when you get to your clean brush that you're blending it away, but it will be a little bit higher up here. Okay, so the placement's really where you're comfortable with. Okay, so again, I'm just going to dip my brush into a little bit of the base eyeshadow with my longest brush. Just so you know, this is the number 9 that I like to keep clean. And when I say keep clean, of course all my brushes are clean. I'm just keeping this free of product. And notice I'm only tickling the edge away. Perfect. Okay, so there we have our smoky eye. Now, what you might like to do is put some eyeliner on as well. That's something that I really love to do. So I'm going to pop some eyeliner on my top lid, and I'm going to stick with the Onyx because I find that the black is something that's going to stand out more with this dark sort of color that I've chosen. And then I'm going to move on to my eyebrows. Again, if I get any fallout from my eyebrows, I haven't got any makeup on at the moment. There's a little bit of fallout here, but we're going to clean that up in a moment, and I'll show you how to do that really quickly. All right, so I've got my Onyx crayon. You might decide to use one of the skinny wind-up ones if you'd like as well, but I'm just focusing on this outer corner. Notice when I put my eyeliner, I work from the outside in, not the inside out. That just prevents you from being tempted to follow your eyeline down and giving you the sad puppy dog eyes. So starting from the edge of your brow, give that as a bit of an indicator as your starting point, and then working inwards. So you make a little dot down and across. What I find quite forgiving for those of you that are not great with eyeliner is just putting your line all the way to the beginning of your iris area. So you're just doing a third of the eye, the outer third. By making that line a little bit thicker there, it gives the illusion of height to the eye. And it also avoids this area here where most people tend to struggle with the line looking straight. So if you're wanting to just master getting your eyes looking beautiful, this is a really simple technique to just get some definition without doing a full eyeline. Now, if you wanted to do a little bit of a flick, you could definitely do that, but I'm going to finish off my makeup to start with first because I really want to conceal around here before I pop a little flick on the end of my eyeliner. So I will show you how you do that as well. It's not something that you need to do right now. We can do that in a moment. Now, if you really want to intensify this look, you can also put the eyeliner just under the lash line again. Okay, and then that will just help with the look of more eyelashes as well, which we all want. Okay, so moving on to brows. I'm using the comb, okay, so you can get this in our 7-piece or our 15-piece. Combing the brows first separates the brows so that your brow dust will adhere to the skin a lot better. The beauty with the brow dust in the Adorn range is it's water and sweat resistant, so you do not end up with one brow at the end of your event or day. Now, you could apply our brow dust wet or dry. Totally up to you. So you could just spritz this or wet your angle brush. This particular brush is number 14. We sell our angle brushes singularly, or they are in both brush packs as well. The color that I like to use and I think suits most people is Peggy. And again, as I said, you can use it wet or dry. If you use it wet, it will go on a lot darker. If you use it dry, of course, it will look a little bit lighter. If you like more of a lighter coverage, then using it dry is the way to go. If you like more definition, using it wet is the way to go. So I'm just going to show you, I've just wetted a little bit. I know everyone's into the feathered brows, but I just love a really structured brow. That's me. But either way, you could do either of those looks with the brows. Now you could do your brows first if you wanted to as well. You don't have to do your smoky eye first. If you wanted to do your brow first, you could. Just wetting this brush a little bit with this rose water that I've got handy. Now for more tutorials on getting your eyebrows beautiful and the correct shape for your face, you can definitely head to the tutorial page of the website and you will be able to see all of the tips and tricks around how to get your eyebrows looking perfect for your eye shape and your face shape. But you can see that this is definitely given some really nice structure, giving it a little bit of a lift. So it's almost a little bit of an eye lift as well, because we can just ever so gently put a little bit of the brow dust just still in the hairline, but ever so slightly just above the hairline, giving that a natural lift to the eye. So if you've got a droopy eye, that's a perfect little tip, is to just put a little bit of the brow dust just above, but still in the brow hairs. Okay, perfect. Eyebrows are done. Now I do like to finish my eyebrows by again combing them. I just find that separating the brows, it also helps to separate the brow dust that's on the skin, giving the brow dust a more hair-like finish. You can see that. perfect. Okay, now moving on to cleaning up the eyes. I've done the majority of my eyes, but I am going to finish off with eyeliner underneath, or a bit of a smoky look underneath, a little bit more of a winged eyeliner, and of course my mascara. That is all going to be done last, after I have prepped and made my skin glowy and radiant. So what we want to do is either grab a little bit of cleanser and wipe it away with our waffle weave. If you're about to use concealer or something like that, stick to using maybe the gel cleanser or the milk cleanser. The pre-cleansing oil is probably not a great idea to use to clean up fallout, because it will leave a little bit of oil residue. So anything too oily under the eye or on top of the eye is to be avoided when you want longer lasting eye makeup. Just for simplicity, because I'm sitting here at a desk and not in particular access to any water, I'm going to just use a wipe, which is just going to clean up any fallout. Now I'm not a fan of wipes. I'm not an advocate for them at all. Super bad for the environment, probably not the best for the skin, but just super easy to use for a tutorial. So again, just put a little bit of your milk cleanser off and remove it with the waffle weave. Much better for your skin and more gentle for the environment. So I've cleaned up my skin. Again, if you've got dry skin, you might want to put a little bit of the primer there, that's fine. But if you're going to use concealer, you'll find that the ingredients in our concealers are quite nourishing enough that you wouldn't need to use both. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is pop on my foundation. And so when I go for a heavy eye, I don't feel like I want my foundation to be too heavy. You may want to, and that's completely up to you, but I'm going to show you a really nice, dewy, radiant look that you could then build on if you wanted a little bit more extra coverage. So I'm going to use the Medium Olive Liquid Foundation, which is our mineral foundation, and I'm actually going to pop this on with my fingers. Now the reason for that is I'm going to put 2 small pumps like this, and one of my favorite things to do to make my makeup work as skincare is to put a little dollop of the vitamin C brightening serum into the liquid. So not only do I get this dewiness from this liquid foundation, but I get the brightening and all the benefits of this serum as well. So I just pop it onto 2 fingers like this. Make out I'm going, I don't know, to some sort of wall by the looks of it, and then just blend it in. Again, you could do that on the kabuki brush. You could pop it on the kabuki brush and blend it with that. That's totally fine as well. Now, a little bit for my forehead, probably just 1 pump or half a pump. Again, a little teeny tiny dot. Now I'm going to pop some on my neck because I'm kind of in between shades at the moment. I'm in between light medium and medium olive, and I always like to make sure that it all matches. So there is nothing wrong with popping, and in fact most times popping a little bit of foundation down your neck is needed by most. And if you're wearing your hair up, make sure that you get behind your ears. Now, to finish this off, to make sure it's blended really well, there's 2 things you could do at this point. You might decide, looking at this, I still don't have concealer on, but you might think, look, I still feel like I want a little bit of extra coverage. So what you could do is either grab your blush bronzer brush and use that in your loose minerals and just dust it down where you need the extra coverage. Or you might decide to use the new Smooth Finish foundation to do that. Totally okay as well. Or if you're happy with the coverage at this point in time, I do recommend just grabbing the kabuki brush just to gently go over and blend any of the excess. Just to really push the product into the pores, especially if you've got large pores. Behind the ears. Now, I personally like to see a little bit of skin. I've still got quite a bit of pigment damage on my forehead, but I'm going to show you how I can get rid of that using a bronzer in a moment. You could definitely use some foundation as well if you wanted to, but for me, I would rather get my skin to a point that I'm happy with the overall appearance of it, and then spot check the areas that I don't love with using either concealer or a little bit of extra foundation. So I'm just going to pop on some concealer, and I'm just going to pop that concealer on the under part of my eye and also on this blemish that I've got. You could also pop a little bit onto your pigment as well, but just making sure with your pigment that the concealer is definitely the same color as the pigment or a little bit lighter. Okay, so for the under eyes, absolutely recommend the Peachy Sleep. If you've got a darker complexion or you've got puffy eyes, then select a concealer that's the same color as your foundation. Remember, lighter things make things look bigger, and we don't want to draw attention to puffiness. So the Peachy Sleep is amazing for those of us that have dark circles but the skin is quite flat. But for those of you that have more of that puffiness, then definitely go with a concealer that's the same color. Now with the concealers, what you can do is pop it on just like you would an eye cream. You pat it on. I like to focus just on this part of my eye. I try to avoid applying any to this area, and then just putting a little bit out in the corner where we can all be a little bit red. Okay, you can blend into this area here, but don't apply concealer here. It's too thick. We all smile, and that's where most of our crow's feet or our laugh lines or lifelines are. So what we want to do is just focus on the concealer being in this area, and just blending it onto that area. Now what I love about the concealing part under my eyes is I've cleaned all this fallout by using this action with my finger. I'm then not only getting rid of the redness, but I'm also helping to scoop my eyeshadow up a little bit, giving that winged appearance. So just gently blending it up like that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is set down this concealer. You do not need to do this, but I like to do it when I am doing a smoky eye, because I'm going to pop a bit of eyeshadow underneath my lower lash line, and to avoid that moving anywhere, especially if you're going to use eyeliner, just popping a little bit of powder, not too much to make the skin look crepey, but enough to set that concealer down so it doesn't mix in with your eyeliner or eyeshadow. So I like to use the setting powder or the oil control setting powder, which is a white color. And I just put a little bit on one of the larger brushes again, and I just like to just dust that along the lash line and this inner corner to set that down. So I'm not focusing so much down here, it's more just along there. Now you don't have to put eyeliner on underneath. This might be enough for you, or eyeshadow, but for me, I just like to create that extra height to my eyes. So this is why I popped that setting powder down there. Okay, so finished with the Peachy Sleep. Now I'm going to use a concealer around my nose that just is going to help with some of these broken capillaries. Also, if you're someone who has your nostrils exposed rather, it can be quite red in there, so that's somewhere I do like to put my makeup as well. It's nothing worse than seeing that redness and the veins. So I'm using the medium olive. Again, do not use light concealer colors on areas that you're trying to minimize. So if you're trying to minimize pores, don't use a light concealer. It's gonna make those pores look bigger. Okay, so I just like to pop it on my nose. Again, remember I said putting your foundation on, get it so you're happy with it, but then spot check the areas you want extra coverage for. Again, pimples, do not put light concealers on them or they will look bigger. Find something that is a little bit darker that you can blend away onto the skin. So look at that. Is it completely not noticeable? No, there's still a little bump there. You're not going to get rid of that, but it's definitely not red and angry like it was a moment ago. Okay, now what I'm also going to do is get the brush. Now this one's number 10. It's a short, flat, very dense brush, and I'm going to use this one just to help push that concealer into my nose a little bit further than what my fingers can do. I'm working it into the pores because I don't want my pores to look red. So get the concealer on so you're happy with it, especially if you've got someone with the open pores along here or your chin. Get it on and then get a brush to help blend it in. Okay, so that's my concealing done. I'm happy with that. You could put a little bit more concealer on if you wanted to, but just remember the more concealer you add, the more likely it is to crease. You need to find the happy medium of hiding your dark circles, but also not accentuating your fine lines that you may have. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is finish off the rest of my skin before I come back to my eyes. So what I want to do now is create a little bit of warmth and dimension to my face. And I'm going to do that with a bronzer today. Sometimes you can use the pigment blend, that's probably my go-to, but today I'm going to show you how you can do that with a bronzer. You could also do it with a darker foundation color, or you might even be able to do it with your new Smooth Finish Compact if that's a little bit darker than your normal foundation. So the idea with this to add some warmth to the skin so that you're not one-dimensional from foundation. Foundation is great in giving you coverage and radiance, but it also can give you that one-dimensional flat look. So creating that warmth and the extra dimensions is done with a slightly darker color, something that to give the warmth. And as I said, bronzer, our pigment blend, or a darker foundation is completely fine. So I'm going to use the Winter bronzer, okay, and this particular shade is more of a matte color. Now, if you're paranoid about getting this into your hair, you may like to invest in our headbands, okay, so they just pop on the head and then it's going to protect your hair if you've got blonde hair, because you don't want to get bronzer or any darker color into your blonde hair. The other option you've got is just placing your fingers over your hairline and doing that, so then you get it on your fingers and not into your hair. All right, so what I'm doing is the traditional, what I call 3, and that is following my hairline. This part of my ear, I'm going to start dipping down a little bit back along my jawline. So it's a number 3. Okay, so what that's going to do is give warmth to my forehead, just define my cheekbones a little bit, define my jawline a little bit. And for those of you that are not happy with your necks, you can pop a little bit of bronzer down your neck just to give the illusion of a more defined neck and chin area. Okay, so the brush that I'm using for this particular one depends on how heavy you want to make this. If you, again, want the color to be really defined and noticeable. Maybe you're doing photo work, you might want to choose a smaller brush like the Blush Bronzer brush, or you might want to use a bigger brush like the number 2, even our smaller, ever so smaller, just a little bit smaller than the number 2, and just pop that along the hairline. Now I always dip a little bit and then I use the lid to press it and get it nice and even on the brush. Or you might like to lay a tissue down on your bench and use the tissue. But the trick is definitely using a lid or a tissue to blend it onto the brush first before popping it onto the skin. If you just dip and then add it straight to the face, you're going to get fallout and excess product in one location and not get it nicely spread over all the locations of this 3. All right, so down the jawline. So you can see that that's just given a little bit of warmth to this side of my face to here. This is a lot flatter. Now, if you feel that you've made this too strong, don't worry, because you've always got your kabuki brush to go over the top of it, sweeping away. And look at that, it's just toned it down and blended it that little bit more for me. Okay, so you shouldn't need to start your makeup again. If it's too heavy, grab your kabuki brush or another clean brush and just gently sweep over the top of it, and it will effortlessly blend that product like a pro. Now, I like to also use what's left on the brush after I've done my 3. I'm not re-dipping. The remaining bit that's on the brush, I'm just going to very gently sweep over my under eye. Just so, see how it's given a very little lift. So it's not so pale underneath my eye area, okay? It's brought all of the color, the foundation, the bronzer, the concealer, it's brought everything together, just giving that little bit of warmth. Now, you can pop it down your neck if you'd like to. On your chest if that area is exposed. Behind the ears if your ears are back, a little bit over the ear. Now, the minerals are water and sweat resistant, so it's going to be a look that lasts you the majority of the day without any touch-up. If you do feel that you need your touch-up, then all you need to do is either look at investing the setting powder, the oil control setting powder, having that in your bag just to dust down your T-zone. That's not going to add any color, it's just going to help mattify your look. Or you might like to go with the new Smooth Finish foundation, and that is a foundation in itself, so it will add a little bit of color. It'll also help mattify your look down as well. You might want to pop that into your handbag as well. Personally, I have never had to touch up my makeup in the 13 years I have started Adorn. I just put it on and I'm good to go. My lips are the only things that I touch up during the day. That's how long these products last. Okay, so back to my number 3. Now, if there's anything in this video that you think, what the hell's a number 3? What's bronzer, contour? I don't know, she's talking another language. Go to the tutorial page, and I promise every little thing I've done, there's an individual tutorial for that, as well as some overall looks. This is an overall look. It's going to take a little bit longer to get through because I'm taking you from start to finish. But if there's something that really makes you tick and that you really would like to learn, then that will have a tutorial on the page or of the website for you to spend a bit more time researching and practicing. Okay, so now what's left on the brush, very gentle sweep under the eye, just to bring that all together. And also what's left of the brush, I'm just slightly going down the middle of my forehead as well. Now, you can see by using this warmth technique that I've used, or this contouring technique, it's actually really softened that very bad pigment I've got on my forehead. You can still see a little bit, but I'm fine with that. You can't completely hide it unless you want to go super heavy with your foundation. And for this look, I really want my eyes to stand out and be the feature, not worry about having thick looking foundation. You could definitely try the pigment blend. That color is much more specific to pigment damage, but this is just to show those of you that have a bronzer or would like to use a bronzer that you can do the same thing. And it definitely does tone down that pigment damage. best bonus is that it gives that warmth, vitality, radiance to the skin, which is what you can see now. Okay, so let's get back to the cheeks. Now I'm going to show you a couple of little tips on how to give your face a bit of a lift using blush. Okay, and my trick with this is using 2 blush colors. Now you might have the spring cream, that's my go-to favorite to do this look with as the base blush, but if you've also got the winter, this one works really well as well. So I'm going to pop this on first, and that is the winter blush. Now all you need to do is pop a little bit onto your fingers and then blend it onto this part. So grab a little bit out. So this is the cream winter blush. Put it onto the base of your thumb, onto the other side. And in fact, that's probably not enough. Let me just get a bit more. So I've got it on both parts of my thumb. Now I'm going to start here, which is the middle of my nose, edge of my brow, as a rough starting point. No lower, not for my face shape anyway. If you've got quite a round face and you do want to create the illusion of being a bit of a slimmer face, yes, you could start a little bit lower. Okay, so start more on the apples of the cheeks. But if you have a thinner face, you don't want to create any more of that drawn look, especially as we get older. We want to look like we've got, you know, a beautiful face that's got big cheekbones and it's not looking sallow. So if that is a concern for you, this is a trick that will give that really nice lift to the cheeks without having to have any surgeries done. All right, so let's pop this on the top of the apples. For those of you that want a skinnier face, you start at the apples. All right, and we're just blending this right up into the temples. Blush into the temples, ladies. So this only works with the earthy colors, the really neutral colors. Okay, so I've just given this really nice sweep of blush. It's given a lift to my face. Now for some of you, you might want to stop there. That's enough color for you, especially with such a heavy eye. But if you're looking at using a color that's a little bit more of a pop, you want to use something like the Coral Radiance or a pink or a red. This is how you would do it, and using it in such a way that you're not going to end up with color everywhere and it looks just too much. It's not natural, and your cheeks become just looking clown-like. Essentially, let's just call it what it is. Now what I'm going to do is use the Dusty Pink Crayon for this. I really love the Dusty Pink Crayon simply because I'm going to pop this on my lips as well as my cheeks. Love multi-purpose products, especially when I'm spending a bit more time doing my eyes. I tend to, whatever's on my cheeks, I will use on my lips. Sometimes I'll use whatever's on my cheeks on my eyes as well. So it's all about saving time and also using your products for more than one thing so that you're using them up before they might go out of date. Like that's, to me, something that's super important. So I'm just using this, popping a little bit on my ring finger, dabbing it onto the other ring finger, and now I'm putting it on the apples of the cheeks. So this is called a pop of color. And I'm just in circular motions so I've just given a little burst, a little sun-kissed burst of color onto the apples of the cheeks, but I'm not taking this color up there. Your pop of color, your bright colors, pop here, but your earthy color to give that face a lift and also to help with that pop of color blend into that nice graduation of a flush or a blush. Then that is the secret, to use the 2 colors. Okay, so now that we're finished with that, I'm going to finish off my eyes, lips, and then I'm going to give my skin a nice little sun-kissed radiance look with a product that I'm super excited to show you at the end. So let's start with lash curlers. So I'm just going to curl my lashes really quickly. I like to do this every time I apply mascara. It makes a massive difference. If you want even more lashes, which I recommend with this look, you might want to check out some of the lashes that we've got available. Of course, they're vegan and you can select those on the tool page of the website. So clamping down, bending up, down and releasing. And you can see I've got some eyelashes now. So gently clamping down, bending up. And you can do that a second time if you like. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just pop on a little bit of my Lash Primer. Now this gives length and thickness to the lashes. It does make a massive difference. So I like to just focus this on the outer corner of my lashes, for the simple fact that when your mascara or your eyelashes are more concentrated on this outer bit, it's going to give you more of that almond eye, more of an open eye. If you've got more rounded eyes, then you might want to focus a bit more mascara on the inner to give more of a close set appearance. Again, makeup can really create so many different illusions. It's really about what you're trying to achieve or disguise. But if bigger eyes is what you're after, then focusing the primer on the outer lashes is the way to go, because it's going to give that nice almond appearance and it's going to give that height once we put the mascara on. Whilst that's drying a little bit, what I'm going to do now is just show you how to create a quick little flick. It's a bit of a cheats way of doing it, but it works and it's very, very simple, is by grabbing your angle brush. You could use a dark eyeshadow, or of course you just use the same eyeliner, which is the Onyx that I showed you a little bit earlier. And remember I said I was going to do the flick after I finished my or winged eyeliner after I finished my foundation. So all I'm doing is I'm just tickling this onto the tip to get a little bit of product. Make sure the brush is nice and straight, and using the long end first, so the pointy tip of the brush first, I'm going to pop that into the corner of my eye, almost feeling like I'm poking my eye, and I'm just going to do a little flick up. Flick, flick. Voila! We have a winged eyeliner. So you see all these fancy schmancy ways of drawing it on, some tutorials, but look, this is just the easiest way of doing it. Pop the longest corner of your angle brush to the corner of your eye, like here, and flick up. Flick. Okay. And we're done. I might just make that one a little bit, hang on, where are we going? Whoop, whoop. And that is the easiest way of creating a winged eyeliner, I can assure you. All right, so there we've got that. Now what I'm going to do is pop the mascara on my top lashes, and then I'm going to pop on some smudgy eyeliner or eyeshadow. Let me have a think while I'm doing this, what I'm going to do underneath. Okay, I'm going to use the waterproof mascara in black. You could use the brown if you wanted to. Now for loading product, you use the more bristlier side just to get the product on. This side, which is almost like a spine, is there to help separate the lashes or declump them if you've put too much product on. Okay, mascara's done. Oh, we're starting to look like a completed project here. So it all comes together, and this is the beauty of the tutorials, is that you can see that each step of the way, it doesn't always look pretty, especially when you're starting to do your eyes. In fact, sometimes people get dismayed or stop doing their look altogether because they feel like it should look like this straight away. But as you can tell from the beginning of this video, it definitely does not look like that at all. Now, what we could do is use the same eyeshadow that I pressed over the Onyx to pop underneath the eye. That would be beautiful. Or you could use another color. So you might want to use a popper color. It could be anything that you like, just to give a bit of height to the eye. Or you might want to use something that's a little bit different, but still in the theme of smoking the eye. And so for me, I'm going to use the graphite crayon, just so you can see something that looks a little bit different. It's a little bit softer than using, say, a black or a brown, but it will still do the same thing in that it gives height to the eye. And I want you to see, look, even that tiny bit there, look how bigger this eye looks already to this one. Now, if you've got small eyes, the outer corner is all you need to do, okay? It will give beautiful height. You can see, look at the difference. It's a bigger looking eye, okay? You could use one of the brushes to blend it. So you might like to use even the one that you used for the original smoke, just to blend that in a little bit. Okay, that's totally fine, just to really secure that product down. Or for those of you that want to, you could run it the whole way across as well and do a really full smoky eye. So for those of you with a larger eye, yes, I think you could run it the whole way across. But for those, or most of us, that are trying to create the illusion of a bigger eye, then I think the last quarter, or the last, third of the eye here is enough and is the most flattering way of enhancing the height of the eye. Pretty. Okay, so that's the graphite, which you can see. Okay, now again, you could blend it a little bit if you felt like it. Totally up to you whether you want to put a bit of mascara on your lower lashes. My suggestion to you is that if you don't have many lashes on your lower lash line, leave it be. Just use the eyeliner or the eyeshadow tip that I've just shown you now. That is enough. If anything, if you've got little amount of eyelashes, putting mascara on them is just going to draw attention to it. If mascara doesn't stay put for you, it's also not worth putting it there. And of course, always use a waterproof mascara to help with that stay put. Now, what I'm going to do is finish off with my lips. Totally up to you, you do you. I'm not a big fan of having a really bright lip when I've got smoky eyes, so I'm going to go with the Dusty Pink Crayon again, which I've got on my cheeks as a pop of color. I'm going to pop that on all over my lips, and then I'll mute that down with a slightly lighter gloss. So you can definitely use lipsticks and glosses together to either intensify the color or mute the color down. Okay, so let's pop the Dusty Pink on. Great, because you can use these as lip liners as well. Follow your natural lip line. Unless you're in a tutorial or a magazine in person, it looks terrible if you go over your natural lip line, okay? Now, I would probably have suggested putting a little bit of lip balm on first. You can see my lips are a little bit dry today, so that you don't get that dry lipped look if you're using just a lipstick. Definitely put a balm on so that by the time you've done your makeup, remove the balm, put your lipstick on, and your lips will look beautiful. But because I'm putting a gloss on, I'm not too concerned that my lips are a little bit on the dry side. If I was just using this crayon, then I would be, because it would be more obvious that they're dry. So you can see this, to me, is too bright by itself with this eye color. It's just too, like, we want the eyes to be the focus, so we want to go more of a nude finish on the lips. But I'm just putting the Dusty Pink on to get a little bit of vibrancy. bit of intensity behind the gloss. You might choose the nude lipstick, the toffee, rustic mocha. They're all really beautiful and under this particular gloss as well. So the Eyeliner is the one, sorry, opening it up. The Eyeliner is the one that I've got now. You could use any of the colors underneath this. And see how that's just very subtly muted that dusty pink down. Now, a little tip around lipsticks and lip glosses. Remember, they will look very different on you, to me, to somebody else. So don't buy a lipstick just based on what you've seen on someone else, because it really comes down to your lip color. If you've got a really pale lip, it's going to look very different to someone who has maybe a bit of a blue base to their lip, or someone who's got really quite plum colored lips, or red lips, or someone who's got more of a pink lip. It really depends on the natural pigment in your lips as to how a lipstick or a lip gloss will look. I often hear people go, oh, it doesn't look like that on me, it doesn't look. That is why it is very different, because everybody's lip color naturally is very different behind the lipstick color that you're putting on. So if you've got a darker natural lip color, then of course that lipstick that you're putting on may look more intense than someone who has a lighter lip color, where it may not look as vibrant or as intense. Okay, I'm really happy with this beautiful smoky look. Again, as I said, you can always extend this up a little bit more onto the brow bone. Up to you how you and where you end it, what colors that you use. The lighter colors are always the safest to start with. The shimmers are always easier to blend, but if you've got crepey skin or wrinkles that you're trying to avoid enhancing, then more matte finish will be better. Just finishing off, I'm going to pop on our cream mineral highlighter. So we've got the beautiful liquid, of course, which is a sellout product that you mix in with your foundation. It is divine and it makes the skin look radiant. Then we have our loose mineral highlighter that is really quite bold in giving you that defined cheekbone, bigger lips if you want. There's some tutorials on how to use that one. But if subtlety is your game when it comes to popping on your makeup, then this mineral highlighter, it's in beautiful luxe packaging. Okay, you can of course, all of the packaging, return it to us for recycling, as you know, but this is a beautiful luxury glass pot. And all you need to do is use your finger to rub off what you need and pop that onto your temples, your cheekbones, down your nose, your forehead. You might like to use this as an eyeshadow, a little bit of a lip color just to give that ombre, make the pout of the lips look a little bit bigger. Your collarbones, wherever. This is just a beautiful product to use, and you of course pop your highlighters on at the very end. So I'm just putting a little bit on my ring finger like this to warm up the product. And I'm just going to dab this into the temples. Now, a good tip for those of you that might have your temples could be a little bit more sunken in. You can see this one on my side is a little bit. Especially as we get older, we lose a lot of fat loss in the temple area, and it can be quite aging. So popping a mineral highlighter into the temples will make that area look bigger. So anything with a shimmer to it will make things look bigger. And of course, it gives that beautiful glow as well. You can see that nice little shine. So if you're wanting super shine, well, not shiny, but super highlight, then you go with the loose. If you want this beautiful, really subtle sheen that you can wear on its own even, you don't even need foundation. If you wanted to just pop a bit on your cheeks for that dewiness, the younger girls in particular may love this just as a bit of something. You know, we've all got our little thing that we like to do and what kind of products we like. Down the middle of the nose, okay, top of the Cupid's bow, just to give more of a curl. Okay, so many things that you can do this with. It is so beautiful, and I love popping this on my collarbone and chest area as well before going out. So Last but not least, if you've finished your makeup and you're feeling a little bit matte or a little bit overdone, go have a walk around your house for 5 or 10 minutes. Let your makeup settle into your skin. Let the warmth of your skin draw that makeup in a little bit. It's allergen free, it's toxin free, Australian made, vegan, cruelty free. So it's totally beautiful to let that soak into the skin for 5 or 10 minutes. Come back and have a look at yourself, and I promise it will look more natural. Your skin just needs those few minutes just to really take on board the makeup just like it would skincare, okay, before you start touching up anything. If you feel that you want more coverage at this point down your T-zone or anywhere, then you might like to come back to grabbing a little bit of the Smooth Finish foundation. Grab one of the larger brushes to start with, dust it down your T-zone. If you feel that you've just been a little bit, you're wanting to matte that down, maybe you want just a little bit more coverage around your nose. Okay, that's fine. Take it with you. It's got a beautiful compact mirror in there. If you don't want to add color, but you still want to matte down your makeup, you're concerned about it staying put, you've got super oily skin, then maybe you might want to use the white, which goes on clear, the setting powder. Again, just dust it down. You might also want to tone your eyes down. If you feel that they're still a little bit dark for you, you're a novice, you're getting used to it, use a large brush like this and just very gently sweep over that matte setting powder, which is this one, and it will probably halve the depth or halve the intensity of the eye color that you've created. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of these tips that I've shown to you today. Again, if there's anything in particular that you liked, that you want to learn a little bit more, then head to the tutorial page, pop me on your phone, put me in your bathroom, pause, trial it, do it time and time again. It's practice, 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 but I promise you, you can make this work for your face. So enjoy, have some fun. Thanks for your time.